Hey, welcome to Men on Everything. This is our show where we talk about everything. I'm Tony Scott in St. Louis. Mark Clark's in New York City. Troy Johnson is in the nation's capital, Washington, D.C. Fellas, Happy New Year.
Same to you, Tony.
Yeah, it's been a while since we got together because of the holidays and a lot of holiday fill-in work that's available and stuff like that.
Yes.
For those of us who don't work every day. Huh?
Yep.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear anything. What was that?
Mark didn't say anything.
So
I've put my years in.
Yeah, you did put your years in, man. You put quite a few years in that club, man, before you resigned to take on the full-time status of being an employee for a company. So the Oscar snub, man, is Selma, and a lot of people are upset about that. And I don't know, they didn't. The actor, supporting actor, no people of color were nominated, and a lot of people are outraged. To me, it's like, well, I guess to be fair, I guess you'd have to see all the movies that were nominated and see those performances. Okay, I mean that would be if you're going to be really fair to judge. The other thing that I think to remember is that who's doing the nominating here?
Yeah.
Right? If the nominating board doesn't have many or any people of color, well, you're probably not going to see anything like that on there anyway. And then the other thing is I mean, are the Oscars as relevant as they were like 20 years ago? I mean, because there's so many award shows. I know it's prestigious, but I don't know, man. Everything seems to have been watered down over the years.
I think, Tony, and I don't know if I think it might be an old school perspective because I was talking to my wife about it, and I wasn't that shocked because I think we were used to African Americans and people of color not getting the love that they deserve. We're so conditioned that I think it's not shocking. And I thought, well, maybe that's a bad thing. I mean, my wife was upset, but in my mind, like you said, Tony, you have Best Picture and you have Song, and like you said, I don't know how many performances or how many movies that featured African American. Sadly, I think it speaks to actually the greater picture, which is there are very few pictures that feature people of color, blacks, Hispanics, and on down the line. When's the last time an Asian person has been nominated for anything? Or when's the first time a Native American? So it's kind of like, I think, I'm not shocked.
Par for the course?
Yeah, when's the last time a Sri Lankan? I mean, I don't know. I think
they do have a foreign film category, Mark.
Well, yeah, but I remember it's like when I used to watch golf. I used to think to myself, Vijay Singh, every time Tiger did something, it'd be like, it's African American. Does Vijay Singh ever say, hey, I'm the first Sri Lankan. What about me? And I'm darker than Tiger Woods. I'm blacker than Tiger Woods. No, really, I am.
Yeah.
What about Sri Lanka? What about that?
Well, I mean, it's been reported on widely. The people that are in that group of folks who do the nominating, I think they said the aggregate age is 63 and mostly white.
Yeah.
63-year-old white men. But I think why people are upset is because this is an anomaly in a sense. For the last 20 years, there have been African Americans nominated, somewhere every year.
Sure.
And so when you guys know I don't really care for these award shows anyway. But I was watching the nomination, and the president of the Screen Actors Guild is an African American woman. And I just happened to come on TV. I happened to be watching it. And when they showed the screen after the nominees for Best Actress and Best Actor, and hey, everybody looks the same. It was a stark look.
Yeah.
And I've heard people that were there in Los Angeles when the names were announced, the press folks that were saying like, what's going on up in here? Like it was different. It was a bit different even for the Oscars than what folks had usually seen, not to mention the fact that everybody loved this particular film when you're talking about Selma. Mm-hmm. And David Oyelowo had an amazing performance. The thing I will say, though, Mark, I know you've had screeners before, both of us are in SAG-AFTRA, and I've watched all of the films that are up for the SAG Awards, no matter what it was, in the past. and it's kind of like, I mean, maybe I'm not savvy enough. I'm not a filmmaker, but when it gets to that level, all of these films are amazing,
right?
In some way,
sure.
But it just kind of seems like in this particular instance, a couple of things come into play. One, you have a perfect storm with American Sniper kind of getting a lot of buzz, and I mean they worked that film pretty hard. And the other thing was there was just as strong a campaign to discredit some of the things that were happening in the movie Selma, which is very interesting because it's a movie,
right?
Just like Sniper,
just like American Sniper is not historically accurate in every scene of the movie. So that's that Hollywood game. Somebody along the way. But then there was the other story that this is true. Apparently, the screeners for the movie Selma were turned in late, or they were kind of at the end of the screening window.
Yeah,
they kind of got there late. That's the way it was reported. I'm not
okay. Got you.
I don't know. I don't know what intern forgot to drop them off.
Damn it, Laquan.
Or brother man didn't run off enough copies.
Man,
DVD copies. But yes.
Yeah, so. He ran off enough of them. He sold them, is what he did. So
sold them. Yeah.
We were at an event. Yesterday, and the movie. It was a community event, but the movie was on. I was like, wait a minute. Wait one damn minute. That's the movie right there. It was clear as day.
Wow.
I was like, okay, I'm not gonna. Let's hope the TV station doesn't like pan over and be like, yo, what's up with that?
You didn't do a. What's going on in here?
Yes, we didn't have. We were one reporter away from that.
Man.
Oh man. Excuse me, who put this up? Who's in charge of the movie? Yeah, and I have a feeling, Troy. I hope that's not true. I hope that's because just like the whole controversy with Johnson, and Troy, you're a political, you love politics. The thing that I think is interesting, because then I saw another MSNBC. They would say, well, actually, because I think the when you're fighting for things, the language and the characterization of the presidents or whoever the story's about, we know that it wasn't a thing where Johnson was like, oh my God, this is my most important thing. It's politics. You know what I mean?
Right.
So who knows what the conversations are? And like you said, it is a movie. It's just like Sniper. The sniper, by all accounts, was an asshole. You know what I mean? He's a hero in the movie because it's a movie. You can't. You're not going to root for a guy. This guy killed all those people, bragged about it, stood on it. Had no problem with it. And but the character is heroic. So the movement. What we do know is that in Selma, the movement was heroic, and we do know that it wasn't an easy win. Presidents saw black folks hanging from trees for generations before they stepped up.
Right.
You can imagine that conversation. Why do we need to do it now? It's like,
have you seen some of these trees?
Yeah.
Seen some of these trees in the South?
You can wait.
Right.
I mean, and Kennedy too. I mean, it's very interesting. Like the lack of humanity that was going on in broad daylight in the 60s, 50s, 60s, whatever, was amazing. Like I just read an article about the youngest marcher was 15. She was hit and she was clubbed by an officer. She had to get 28 stitches to the back of her head and also stitches on her face over her eye. I was thinking, what kind of monster could assault somebody in a non-violent protest and club them? And she's a kid. Nothing inside this person. That's like inhumane. It's like what kind of person could do that? And that's a officer of the law. So
fellow American.
Yeah, but it was a completely different time then, you know. But does
but the time, I don't think the time matters. I think human is human. I think that's what.
Well, but back then, you know, black folks were considered less than human. They were considered, you know, so officers, white officers had no regard at all for people of color, for black folks. They had no regard at all, and so I'm not making an excuse. But it was what it was, right?
But I think, Tony, that's what I'm saying. I think this is my you know, Troy. Sorry, close your ears. You heard this a million times. This is the great person, the great human being article, the great human being argument. Throughout time, there have been people who, I don't care what, I don't care what's going on or what the thought of the day is, that stood up as human beings because they know that you can't treat people this way. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's what kind of saves everybody, is that those people, regardless of the time, if it's you know, Madison or if it's Ben Franklin or if it's the Quakers, you know, like a human is a human. So I think no matter what the Times is saying, if you can club a 15-year-old person in the head, girl, then you're an animal. You're not a human being. And people will hide behind, well, it was the time. No, it was you. You know, I think that I'm not falling for that excuse, but I feel you, Tony. You're right. People who watch people hang from trees. I'm telling you, I couldn't watch a person hang from a tree. I don't give a damn if they're guilty or whatever. You know, because my humanity would not allow that. And I think people have a tendency to, you know, have excuses for different things like that. Because I think even in war, for me, the enemy, quote unquote, it would be hard. That's why it would be hard for me to be a soldier, probably. Right. Is my image okay? I'm stuck.
No, you're good.
No, you're right.
You're fine.
Mine's saying I'm not responding. That's why.
Okay, you're good. You're good. You're good. So the Whitney Houston movie came on this past weekend, watched by 11.8 million people. Some backlash from the Whitney camp. In fact, something I read says, talking about Angela Bassett, that a woman who claimed to be this was Pat Houston talking about her daughter. She says a woman who claimed to be her aunt's friend would direct a movie that seems so so unloving towards her aunt and how it could affect her cousin Chrissy. And to me, it's like, okay,
is that a complete sentence?
No, that's just
like, that don't even sound right.
You know, but I was paraphrasing there. But
okay.
To me, okay, look, Whitney Houston was a flawed woman. We're all flawed. Whitney Houston had a drug problem. Whitney Houston apparently cheated on Bobby Brown. Whitney Houston. So they just told a perspective. It's a perspective. How accurate it is. The only thing we know for sure, I never heard that she had been unfaithful to Bobby. We all knew she had a drug problem. We all know how she died. You know, and that's kind of like, really, that's really all. It's somebody's perspective. I mean, the Selma is somebody's perspective because there's some things in there I'm sure that are not very accurate, and the director may have taken some liberties. But it happens in every movie, and it happens in the Whitney movie. Was there some creative license taken there? I mean, I didn't even see the movie, but I'm sure there was.
I just saw a little bit of social media. Kind of, some people said, "Oh, this is the Bobby Brown story." It kind of paints Bobby as, you know, a little. It paints him in a positive light, where a lot of folks thought that he was the cause of her meltdown, which I think they equally contributed, to be quite honest.
But wasn't that, Troy? Wasn't that like the thing that surprised all of us though when she died? And what we found out was that Bobby was not the person who got her on drugs. Right. That was like a really, you know.
I don't know if that's. I think us in the industry. I wasn't surprised by that because I think we kind of all knew that Whitney, Clive created the image of Whitney, but the Whitney image was known even when she was young, like 15, 16, was known to fight. Was known to. I heard, over the years, I heard that when my friends that met her when she was 15 or 16, she was with Robin then. As far as they lived together, friendship, partying. They were partying then. So I kind of knew that whole thing with Bobby Brown and then the link to Eddie Murphy, that wasn't even real. Randall Cunningham, all these things. It was kind of like, I think the public didn't know, but I think behind the curtain people kind of knew. And I think yes. I did see it, and the relationship I felt was special. I think they genuinely loved each other. I think, like you said, it could have been called Bobby and Whitney. That probably would have been more accurate because it really was that kind of love story piece. So I can understand how people had a problem with it, but actually I think people, you're right, Troy. Bobby did come off more normal, and it did seem like even with after the show, they showed the interview that Bobby Brown did with Sean Robinson, and it was very good because Bobby, it helped you understand how at that level, a celebrity like at the funeral, right? When he came to the funeral, then he left. He came to the funeral. They wanted him to sit where Bobby Christina was going to sit. They wanted him to, but they would not allow his other kids to sit there. They're going to have them sit in the back. And so instead of causing controversy, Bobby Christina wasn't even there yet. He just left, which again, that was great. I mean, you know what I mean? That makes perfect sense. Now, the image that we saw was, why is Bobby Brown leaving? Oh, that's
right.
Disrespectful. You know what I mean? And then the security.
I thought he left because he saw Jaheim's suit. Oh, hell no, I ain't staying with it.
Next to this, and the security was so tight. Security was so tight on the death, at the funeral of his wife or ex-wife. They wouldn't allow him to see Bobby Christina to say, "Hey, honey, I can't sit next to you." They wouldn't allow her, so he just left. And so that made perfect sense. You know what I mean? So I think it was. I thought it was pretty good, and I thought but it could have been called Bobby and Christina, Bobby and Whitney.
Okay.
I don't know if I've seen this on social media, like over the last day or so. People posting this interview that Oprah Winfrey had with Whitney Houston's brother, and he claims that he's the one who turned her on to drugs.
Yeah, I remember that. I saw that.
That was the scene. Was they did it quickly, so you know how movies work. Bobby goes to her house for the first time at her birthday party. They're walking. She's giving him a tour of her house. The brother slips her some coke, and she takes it. And as she's walking to the house, she takes a bump and asks Bobby, "Does he want bump?" And he's like, "Nah, I don't do that. Yeah, I don't do that yet." No.
So is it, I don't do that yet. I don't do that yet. So is it safe to say that she's the one who got him on cocaine?
That's the story I had always.
Yeah.
Is that a safe assumption?
That was the assumption that he's a drinker. Yeah. I'm not really into that stuff. But Bobby, yeah, probably so. I mean, you know what you kind of get from it, and even at this interview with Sean Robinson afterwards, the thing that makes sense is Bobby was a child star. It seemed like he had a lot of respect for Whitney as the voice of her generation. So there was a lot of adoration there. And I think, in my take, a guy who, Bobby's Bobby, he's going to do what he's going to do. But I think he held his wife to a certain standard because she was Whitney Houston, and I think he always respected that. So I think he looked at it like, how guys will have they mess around, they do this, they do that, but they hold their lady with a certain respect because of who she is. I think it felt like throughout his whole life, even now, Bobby respected that, and that would make sense because people forget that Bobby was definitely a child star and somebody who respected the game, and I think the drugs and stuff got him off course. But I think there's no doubt that he was a guy, he was striving to be a superstar, and Whitney was a superstar.
Yeah. But it seems like that out of the two, based on what we have found out, and not necessarily from the movie, but it seems like she was worse for him than he was worse for her. It's like she drove. It seems like the truth of the matter really is, despite what was reported during the time they were together and even up to her death, it was always reported that he was the poison who turned her out.
Yeah.
And it almost seems like we're finding out that actually she was the poison that turned him out.
Well, consider the time. We're talking about the 80s and 90s.
Yeah,
we have nowhere near the amount of social media. I mean, imagine that relationship in today if it unfolded the way. I think it would have been pretty obvious the way people report on things now. Like, oh, wait a minute, it ain't Bobby.
Right.
I think, like you said, I think what happened, Tony. I wouldn't say I agree with what you're saying about the perceptions, but I think you also have to factor in, okay, I think, and it kind of showed this in the movie. So Bobby, when they met, Bobby was on her level to a degree, he was number one artist.
Man, but that's a stretch though, isn't it? Because she was
right
on top
at that moment.
Yeah,
worldwide.
At every little step you take, he was poised to be the next big thing. Let's put it that
Okay.
way.
All right.
Not on Whitney's level, right?
Okay.
So then I think Bobby, and it kind of showed it, he kind of was cool with just, he thought, with being almost Whitney Houston's husband. You know what I mean? Like, so he kind of, in his mind, probably, the drinking and the drugs and all that kind of stuff, it kind of showed it in the movie. He didn't give up his career, but he basically became, her husband. And so when they first were together, people wanted to see Bobby, they wanted to see Whitney. Then it became basically when people want to see Whitney, they don't necessarily want to see Bobby. So, yeah, what psychological effect does that have on somebody? So
Sure.
that factor probably contributed. If you're not poised, and again, remember when they were dating at first, Bobby Brown's people were excited about see Bobby Brown, and then after that it kind of faded. He lost, it was pretty much over. So
right. Yeah.
As somebody who's gone on drugs because of their wife's fame, I understand that. I didn't go on drugs. I went on wings.
Winged it up, man.
Hey man, didn't used to be Mark Clark? Yes.
He didn't mow it up. He winged it up. So I don't know, man. So last night during an interview for that show that was on Light Girls, Amber Rose said that her family did not come to her wedding her marriage to Wiz Khalifa because he's black. And she goes on to say that her family is like Creole and Italian, and she said that they think that they're superior to people because of how they look. And I mean, that's what she intimated, and it was kind of shocking that she would actually put it out there like that. So I would imagine at the family reunion it's going to be kind of tense.
Well, the grandmother said.
Go ahead, man.
The grandmother said she didn't come to the wedding because she was busting it wide open. And that was the grandmother.
I thought they said they weren't coming because they knew she wasn't gonna have no drawers on. So. Ain't no need for us to be there for that.
Man, I don't know, man. So who's finer, man? Kim Kardashian or Amber Rose, man?
Amber Rose.
I'd have to say Amber Rose, man. What do you think, Mark?
I can't believe I said that out loud, but yes.
Yeah, and take.
When you say finer, we all know what that means. Amber Rose. We know what that means, Tony. Finer.
I mean, they're both stunning young women. They really are. And Amber Rose is just flat out just sexy.
I think Kim does. I think Kim Kardashian does have a pretty face. Yes. But
I like Amber Rose's face.
Yeah, I like
they're both beautiful women. They're both very pretty in the face. But
I like Amber Rose's.
But I guess I mean the series, Dark Girls and then Light Girls that was on last night. That is something that isn't talked about a lot.
Oh yeah.
About how people, prefer a certain hue in their significant other. You know what I'm saying? A certain hue.
Well said, Tony.
I mean, I think most people have a type. Whether you like, big boobs, big butts. Yeah. You like, if you're a woman, if you like, big feet on your man, or big hands, or you like a hairy man. I mean, it's all everybody has a type. We all fall in love with someone, and when we fall out and go for someone else, a lot of times it's usually someone who looks very similar to who you had before. In a lot of cases. Now, I wouldn't say most cases, maybe half, I don't know, but it's always been disappointing to me though to hear someone say, "Yeah, I don't like dark-skinned women."
That's what the problem is. Yeah,
I hate that.
If you have a type, have a type.
Have a type,
but you don't have to walk around. Oh, I don't like that. It's like I think that's where, coupled with just the sociology of society.
Yeah. But is it that deep though?
Yes.
Is it that when a man says I don't like dark skinned women, is it that deep where some people say, well, he just like white women, but he don't want to be with a white woman.
Well,
so is it really that deep, or is it just because I've seen so many pictures of Amber Rose?
Well, no, Tony. I think here's the problem, and it's not just African Americans; it's in the Hispanic community,
sure,
Indian community. The problem is the powers that be, the Eurocentric powers that be, have set up systems where the fact that your skin color, like apartheid in South Africa, and then basically apartheid that exists in all the other countries and cultures, in that if you are light skinned, you hold more power than you do if you're dark. Nobody, and so therefore it's not an accident. You know, that's the part that I think. So that's why
Cuba is a great example of that.
Yeah.
Cuba, the Hispanics there are primarily dark-skinned Hispanics.
And those are the ones who have the foot on their neck.
They are the larger group of population on the island of Cuba. But the imaging that you see would suggest something different.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I remember I always use this quote. You guys have heard me say it before. Because I didn't know, being from Springfield, where we only had like a black person and a white person, we didn't have diversity. I remember in the movie Mississippi Masala with the Indian, Denzel was in love with, an Indian young lady, and her father said, you can be rich and dark, or you can be light and poor, but you cannot be dark and poor. He was basically like, and it was like, wow, I didn't know, but yeah, so it's across the board, it's systematically so when you hear somebody like Troy said, say it, it's like, oh my God, like, it's almost like the house Negro and the field Negro situation, it was set up that way, so why are you feeding into it? And if you are feeding into it, shut up. Just shut up. I mean,
yeah.
We had this discussion on the radio, and people used to fire at me, and Troy was witnessed it, because they were like, I would always say, I like a variety of skin colors, but they say, yeah, but who are you married to? And the thing that's funny about that, and if you can talk it, but they're saying, look, Mark, you say that all the time, but let's see who you dated. Troy has seen who I've dated across the board, basically, or if we call dated, but the person that, the impact and the influence affects us all, and it's when you say, I only date blah blah blah, you're kind of like, especially if you're a person of color, it's almost like you bought into all of it, and it's kind of sad. But like you said, I'm with you, Troy. You have your taste. Just keep it to yourself. Why would you tell somebody like, I don't like? I remember when Allison got engaged, Tony. You remember this? And she told her coworker that she was feeling Mark Clark, and she was like, yeah, but he's fat. Are you serious? He's fat. And she was like, yes, I know.
Yeah, there's somebody who won't be invited to the wedding, so they.
Like, and then when I found out, I was like, for real? For real? She said that? Yes, you fat. It's not a secret, Mark. You're fat. Okay? Give me another wing.
Oh, there he goes, man. So Kevin Hart did a radio interview, and he says that the drama between his fiance and his ex is really over, and they're starting to talk, and that made him very happy. And I got to thinking about that. My wife and my ex-wife only met one time, but it was a very pleasant, in person. But it was a very good. It was good. It wasn't bad. It wasn't drama. There was no drama. It was all good. But I think a lot of the times that when a guy, and I can only speak from a guy's perspective, and I'm just guessing here, but I'm just saying when a guy leaves his significant other, whether he's married to her or they've been together a while as a couple, the woman he leaves her for, the one he cheated with and left her for, is always going to get, the side eye from the one who got dumped. But if he broke up with the side piece and then moved on to someone else, I don't think the drama's there. I think the resentment is, you took my man, I'll always hate you. I don't want you around my children. I don't want you, you know what I'm saying? It's like, and that's something that it's just an observation that it's usually the next person in a relationship who gets all the hell, especially if she's a nice looking woman.
Tony put this in the side piece perspective. He added that to, not a relationship end, but specifically.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when it goes, but when it happens that way, when a guy cheats with a woman, then he leaves his significant other for that woman. Mm-hmm. That woman that he's with now is never going to win with the one who got dumped. It's just not gonna happen. Now, if they broke up just to break up and say they shared a kid or two, but he moves on to someone else, and the someone else wasn't the reason why they broke up. There isn't nearly the drama there.
Right, I got you.
It all goes back. I think it goes back, like you said, Tony, with respect to people being mature too. I mean, when you're mature, I think things happen. You know, you can put things in perspective. You know, understanding that when you're a significant other, if they leave you or when they leave you or whatever, it really is not about the other person. It's about you. You know, that's the part that people have to understand in relationships. It ain't about the other person. It's about you. They don't love you no more. That's what you have to put in perspective. People forever, right. They blame the other person. They read these articles that if only I had gone down on him, he would have stayed. Oh, he don't love your ass no more. She don't love your ass no more. That's it. That's it. That's it. That's it. It's no like, what if I done this person, that bitch stole my man? No. And I think that's what people don't. We don't want to acknowledge that, but that's it, and it's okay because.
Well, we don't want to acknowledge it because it hurts. Well, it hurts.
It hurts.
It hurts to find out that somebody doesn't love you anymore.
But do you want to be around somebody that doesn't love you anymore? I told you that's my greatest fear. If I'm walking, Allison sees me walking by with my Santa belly and my skinny legs and all my other issues, and she goes, ugh. Ooh, I hate it. Damn, why did I? You know what I mean? Then yes, please kick me out. I don't want to be that person.
Yeah.
You know?
No need to be around for that. Well,
yeah.
I mean, I'm an ex-husband, and I have to say that, but we didn't have the side piece factor that Tony mentioned, but we get along fine. And I do know that, you know, when the marriage ended, I wasn't happy about it. You know, I can't judge. I'm sure she wasn't happy about it, but I mean, I certainly was like, you know, I really didn't want a marriage to end. I didn't want our marriage to end. I was concerned about our son and hurt. But like Mark says, you got to move on from. I mean, for me, it worked. Just move on. Mm-hmm. I got to live my life. She's got to live her life. She actually got remarried, and I have a good relationship with her husband. You know, when we're in situations where we're around when my son is there, so it worked out. And I hope people have that kind of relationship. It's tough though, because some people just, you know, I think if you put in the side piece factor, Tony, I'm going to put in the off the chain ghetto factor, the other aspects of just people feel like, oh, I'm never going to get over this situation. I'm going to make sure that this person is in a living hell every time we communicate. I mean, there's some people that really have that mentality.
Sure.
And, you know, I agree.
Yeah.
I think you have to love yourself. I think at the end of the day, that's what it really is. You have to love yourself. People don't love them. When you love yourself for real, you don't put up with a whole bunch of stuff. I mean, and if you do, it's by choice. And if it does break off and someone says, I don't love you anymore, you love yourself so much that you can hear that. You can be like, oh. But if you don't, if you're connected, that's what people do. They get with somebody, they're both not complete, and they leech off each other. And if one leaves, then they don't know who they are. They're lost. I don't. Who am I? My whole life was built around this person. You know.
Well, you know, I mean, I think, and I've said this before. I think there are a lot of people in this world who hold being married or a marriage on the equivalent of having a PhD, you know, or some other type. Like it is a title, like admiral. You know, like you're an individual person. Yeah. And you know, if you are married, that enhances what you bring to the table. But it is not they don't give you a sheepskin for being married.
So, but you know what,
you
Troy,
wear sheepskin anymore when you're married. Or you can.
Troy, you're a young man. Do you think you'll ever marry again, man? Ever?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I've gone back and forth. I've been in relationships where with a person who has been married in the past, and they're like, we ain't going. We're not. If we had stayed together, we're not gonna get married. We're good. We're good with being together. But then on the other hand, I've been in relationships where I'm like, could I actually see myself getting married again? I've asked myself that question many times, and obviously you see
He was usually drunk when he had.
Yeah, well.
Speaking of marriage, guys, Tony, I hate to extend this segment a bit, but it was interesting. I had a conversation with a friend of mine, and we were talking about, the marriage piece, and he was saying him and his wife, they got to a point where he and his wife had this conversation where, he said, hey, one of us has to make the final decision on things because you won't move forward, right? And when we had that conversation, I was thinking, I think that right there, for a lot of marriages, I don't say it's the beginning of the end, but I think people hold on to resentments when, like you said earlier, Troy, like you're kind of two individuals, and if one person is the boss or feels like they're getting bossed, I think they take the position. It's like your kids, when your kids feel like they're being bossed, there's always some resentment. Mm-hmm. Versus if you say, look, you can make the decision, but you got to stand by it or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Right. So I thought it was interesting when I heard that, because I think a lot of marriages are built that way, but I don't know if in the changing times and the different roles that we have with each other. I think people hold on to that resentment, even if they don't say anything, like, I'm going to be the boss, basically, when you have that kind of conversation. What do you think, Tony? You've been married a long time.
I've been married 20 years. I've been with my wife almost 30 years. And the one thing that I know about marriage is it's a constant give and take. Not everything is going to go your way. Like, for example, on a very superficial level, I don't like chicken. All right? I don't like chicken. My wife loves chicken. And we've had this conversation, like, if she'll fix chicken sometimes, and then she'll, like, fix me a steak. And I'm like, why'd you do that? I mean, I don't like chicken, but I'll eat chicken. I'm a team player. I'll eat chicken. I mean, I'll have chicken. I mean, because it's too expensive to go and make. It's too much time to go and it's like if you go get takeout for the family and you got to go by KFC, you got to go by Taco Bell, and you got to go by Subway, and you got to go by Chipotle, and and it's like that's not necessary. Okay, not everybody gets what they want all the time. It's give and take, right? Yeah. And sometimes, my wife needs to get her hair done and stuff like that. And I had plans for us to do something else, but she's going to be at the, when a woman goes to get her hair done, it's anywhere from 2 hours to 2 days. And, it can go. But it's give and take. And she could come in here and sit in this chair and tell you that she gives up a lot of things too. And that's one thing I've noticed about marriage is that if it's going to succeed, there has to be wiggle room, and you have to be able to concede things, and it's a give and take thing constantly. I mean, constantly it is, but it's what makes it great. I have a great marriage, and it's great because it's hard. Mm-hmm. And everything in life that we celebrate it because it was hard to get. I got my college degree. We celebrate that. People get married. We celebrate that. Kids graduate from high school. We celebrate that. The birth of a child. We celebrate that. A new job promotion, a new house. We celebrate all these things because they're great and they were hard to get. So in marriage, my marriage is great because it's hard. It's hard, and we celebrate it because we get through it together. And I cannot even imagine this woman not being part of my life. I mean, I've been able to give my family the life that they've had because of what I do for a living, but I've only been able to do what I do for a living because of her. Because she is taking care. She's the one who ran the girls everywhere while I focused on this radio show. While, I constantly did research and stuff. Mark and I did a radio show together for many years. And he knows I didn't go anywhere because I was always working on the show. And we used to joke about it that he was the PR and I was the research. So I researched the show and he went out and met everybody. Because, it was kind of like one of those things. But I was allowed to do that because she picked up a lot of the slack. That's what she gave. Right? And in return, I gave a lot of things. And this house that we live in, I bought it for her. She chose it. She chose the wallpaper. She chose the carpet. That was what I did for her. Right? So it's a constant give and take. And to me, that's been the success of our marriage, is that we're able to do that. And it's been hard, but that's why it's been great.
Now, Tony, you put some Teddy Pendergrass under that last 3 minutes?
Turn him off!
You good.
Turn him off!
You're good, son. But Tony is hitting it right on the nose, because I think the best explanation I ever heard about a marriage is the analogy is that you are willing to take care of your significant other. Obviously we know in the sickness and health, but you're able to pick up the slack, take care of that person, look out for them, nurture, whatever the case may be, without any expectation of that to be in return. Because the other person is doing the same for you. So when you look at it that way, that kind of overarching two ships in the night, I'm taking care of you, you're taking care of me, we're taken care of because we're together.
Right.
So, I mean,
that's exactly what it is. I mean, and
a lot of people listening to that can evaluate their own relationships and go,
oh shit. Well, the irony is that it was Flavor Flav who said that, which is crazy.
So here in St. Louis this past weekend, the State of Emergency concert came to town, and backstage there was a brawl. Now the proceeds from this State of Emergency concert were to go to the Put Down the Pistol program. But apparently August Alsina, and it's all over TMZ, anytime there's something going on, somebody whips out a phone. He got into his camp, and the promoter Slim, his camp, got into it because August Alsina was late.
And also, August Alsina resented the fact that his name was Slim when he's so slim. So it was always a problem.
It's always a problem.
Right.
But this is, I mean, it was a brawl, and it's silly. I mean, I can understand the promoter being frustrated because, August Alsina is supposed to go on at a certain time, maybe. I mean, I don't know the particulars, and he wasn't there yet, or he wasn't ready to go on yet because he just got there and all this stuff like that. But to me, when you're these artists today, when you're dealing with them, you got to know that there's a great possibility that they're going to be late, and there's even a good possibility they may not even show up. That's just how, and that's why that being a concert promoter, that's a tough gig, man. And I can understand the frustration.
It's a tough gig if you ain't got a Roscoe on you.
And then, and if you're August Alsina, you're being souped up by your camp thinking you're the bomb. You don't have to answer anybody, man. You ain't got to do all that. You get there when you get there.
I mean, I get, I get the thug element in hip hop, obviously. It's been around for a long time.
And he's an R&B singer.
That's what I was going to say. But I do not understand the thugged out R&B singer. I just can't really.
Well, but is it more about the camp, who they surround themselves with?
I don't know what it. Nothing.
Don't know what foolishness is about.
Yeah, we don't. None of this bullshit surprises me in that regard. I'm sure somebody said, you know what, you need an eye catcher, man. You're gonna be a thugged out R&B singer. Now that's happened in the past, but not.
Like you said, Troy, the ridiculousness is that the R&B singer thug will let you know, just because I sing R&B,
don't get it twisted. Just because I'm singing these songs don't mean
right. Just
because I'm crooning. I mean, I'm pull an AK on you.
I got these hands, son. You know what I'm saying? I'll throw them, though I sing R&B.
I got octaves and I got hands.
Oh my God, it's so ridiculous. And then you'll see these crazy people. We sound like crazy people, Bill Cosby, but it's ridiculous. I'm sorry. He was a guy who was a comedian. Anyway, then Selma, or you'll see video footage of Fred Hampton and Mark Clark, who were killed by the government because they were trying to make change in the world. Then you cut to these idiots, these rappers who are just wasting their influence and their time when there's people who've given their lives to try to get for us to get to this point. And it just becomes, and I guess that's why as you get older, you turn into the old bitter guy who criticizes everything, because you understand what people have given up for a stupid ass August Alsina to be fighting in St. Louis. You understand what's been given up for that. So, and then like you said, Tony, the theme of the damn event was supposed to be positive.
Right.
Lord Jesus.
Yeah, it's just.
It's funny that you say all that. Obviously, yesterday was the MLK holiday, and I don't know if you guys saw this article that Kareem Abdul-Jabbar wrote about the significance of the King holiday today. And he wonders whether or not it really holds the same level of, and this is a conversation and an argument that's been made before, because yesterday, for example, I was doing the news on WHUR, and I had a different piece of MLK. I mean, he's made 1 million speeches, right? And fortunately, a lot of them are on audio, so I was using a lot of different clips. I tried to find every clip other than the I Have a Dream speech, because there's so many things that Dr. King talked about, argued for, wanted people to think about, but it's been reduced to I Have a Dream, which ironically, the whole King legacy now is in jeopardy, or not in jeopardy, but people are questioning now his children and their need and want to kind of profit off of their father's legacy. You know, some people are like, I don't know. They've made a lot of money. Dr. King actually copyrighted the I Have a Dream speech. So, you know, you can't really get a great copy of it because it is a protected document. The images are protected and all that stuff. And, you know, they'll sue if it's not used properly. But it is used prominently in some advertising, you know, and that's, of course, by license. But it kind of, you know, people want to gravitate to I Have a Dream when there's so many other things that Dr. King said and talked about. And, you know, it feels like after we get past the holiday, that's it for the year. You know, you're not going to hear from Dr. King.
Right.
It's like, okay, we put Santa Claus away, we put Dr. King away, now bring out the Easter Bunny.
Yeah.
And it's really unfortunate because when you really listen to and really study the civil rights movement and what happened, and it speaks to what Mark was talking about, the significance of these people coming together, like you see in the movie Selma, for those that have seen it. And you think about it, these clowns, you know, acting a fool for no reason. It really, you know, it my people.
Right.
It makes you think.
Yeah.
Something is missing. Something's missing.
So Empire has been renewed for a second season. They're not even. It'll be on anywhere from 10 to 20 years. So no. What I didn't know was that Lee Daniels said recently that Wesley Snipes was his choice to play Lucius, and I can't. And I've seen like an episode and a half, but Taraji P. Henson said that she would not sign on unless Terrence Howard played Lucius.
Wow.
So I don't know if I'm Wesley Snipes. Am I mad about that? Because you just cost me a gig, or I don't even know Wesley Snipes at this point. I don't even know if he would even do television. He's a movie star.
How much tax money does he have?
well, there were rumors that LaWanda Page said that she would sign on if Wesley played Lucius. She'd come
play Cookie. Play.
I'm Cookie.
Man. Now, see, I watched it. I watched it the first time it came on. I watched it, and I really didn't care for it. And I watched it again when they reran it, and for some reason it was a lot better. And then I watched half of the next episode, and I was like, nah, you know what? This is the same thing warmed over. This is. I mean, it's great. Don't get the acting is great. The scene in the first episode where Terrence Howard put his son in a garbage can because he came out with high heels on and stuff. He was just a little bitty boy. Was powerful, and it spoke to a lot of things. But the premise in itself is like, to me, it's the same thing warmed over. I mean, it really is to me. I mean. From everything else that's been on, you know, there was another show that was about a record company that was on maybe 5-10 years ago, and it was just basically the same thing. And you know, why is it that there has to be a gangster element in every black drama?
You know what?
Of course, I'm generalizing, but I mean, it's like, man,
the ratings. This is our radio thing, guys. When we're on a hip hop station, it's like on one hand. You know, we can't really we can't argue with this. You can't argue with the success.
Yeah.
You know, Blackish had good success. This kicked Blackish ass. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And the ratings for this are setting records. So
Right,
all those
right.
people, you know, and so we have to ask the question, like you say, why, Tony? Because all they care about is money, and because it's successful. Do
Right.
we think would the same conscious show gather ratings? No.
Well, let me ask you this,
Sadly.
man.
I mean,
And-
I'm not
I mean,
celebrating. I'm just saying.
the landscape has changed, reality TV, all this kind of stuff like that. So let me ask you this: in 2015, we're just into 2015. Would the Cosby Show be a hit in 2015?
Yeah.
See, I don't think so, man. I don't think it's right. I don't think there'd have to be a ratchet factor in there somewhere.
No, here's the thing that I think people forget.
Well, let me interject before you say that. Is Blackish the 2015 version of the Cosby Show?
But their audience.
But here's what it is, guys. And this is the thing that's so sad about Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby, you know what I mean? When you have Tyler Perry is like a ratchet Bill Cosby. But
Really?
What I'm saying is, I guess what I'm saying is, Bill Cosby, when you take that kind of talent, his gift is he's probably, if not the greatest storyteller. Dick Gregory always says he's in the top, like the fourth. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Of all time. And I think Cosby, his connection and understanding and all that is what you can't really, you know what I mean? You can't really rate, because yes, if Bill Cosby existed in the 2015 version of Bill Cosby, the same, you know, if you could transfer, then yes, because that was the factor. Then on top of what he was speaking to and what he was doing. So yeah, I think it definitely can, but you only get those kind of talents once in a generation or once in a couple generations. And I think that's the part that's always undervalued. Just think about all the stuff he did from the Fat Albert to Little Bill he's like 5 generations of excellence that also had success. So you just can't do it.
But wouldn't you say in the last 5, 6, 7 years, the landscape of what we see on TV has dramatically changed?
But
more than any other time. I mean, it's gone. It's really gone from like day to night.
It's only because of the quality that's offered. You know,
Exactly.
the quality that's offered.
But it's the people who are eating that up, though. People who are eating up these ratchet kind of shows. That's why I'm saying if you took the Cosby Show just like it is.
Well,
not tailoring it for 2015, but you just picked it up and put it down in 2015. Would it have an audience? And I think it would not, because things have changed, man. I mean, when you watch the Cosby Show, there was no cussing on there, man. You know, there was very little anything that was suggestive. It was comedy. It was good. And we don't get that anymore. I mean, Blackish is one. And this is not an indictment of black television shows. I mean, all these television shows of those two broke girls comes on at 7:00, and there's all kinds of sexual innuendo on there. So the landscape has changed, and it seems to be very well received. So I'm wondering if there's room for that. I
think Tony, you like you say, you can't really do that, because it's kind of like it just kind of doesn't work that way. If you take the same level of talent, I think yes. I just think it is definitely a different time. But I think, I think if you had the same, you couldn't take the old Cosby Show and put it on now. No,
right? You'd have to tweak it, right? You'd have to tweak it.
Yeah, but I think if you have the same kind of genius comedian, then
Well, here's the problem that we've run into, and this goes to, you guys have seen that news report. It comes on every few years. The attention span of the American has dropped another 1/10 of a second.
Yeah.
It's under 5 seconds now.
Right.
Literally somewhere in the neighborhood of 3 to 4 seconds.
Yeah, we're at the goldfish level now, so.
What'd you say? I'm sorry. When the game coming on?
And it's going to keep going down.
Yeah.
And I've always, that story has come, again, it's been on the news several years. It happens every few years. And I'm always intrigued by the data, because, okay, the attention span is going down, but what we're, as a society, not doing is trying to make it go back the other way. That's the failure there, because we plug in and that's it. We don't, as a society, and I'm generalizing, not all of us have any desire to be educated when we watch TV. We don't want to be enlightened necessarily when we watch TV. We want to laugh, want to escape, we want to see some ratchet nonsense. We want all these things to, in some cases, are polar opposite maybe of what we experience in real life. But I think there's some problems with that, and like I said, as a society, we're not doing anything, it appears, to try to change the way that is going. Well, and it just doesn't seem like it's going to happen.
Well, this I think we also got to remember, the guys, too, is that there are different outlets. You know what I'm saying? There are people that don't watch, I use my in-laws, for example. Peace Corps, Dad went to Harvard, they're educated. My mother watches a lot of television, you know what I'm saying? And she watches a lot of PBS. She watches a lot of the cable. Cable offers a whole bunch of great stuff. Oprah is amazing. Oprah, did you see the Oprah special honoring the legends at Selma? Oh my God, amazing. Oprah single-handedly has just raised the level of everything. She basically, those great people who were there at Selma, she had an event at her home. She invited everybody. She celebrated them. She gave them, some an award, just a token of appreciation, but just celebrated and said thank you. Now that's on her network, and those kind of shows are on her network. So I think what happens when we're talking about, like you said, the college and stuff, we saw watch 3 networks. Now there's so much stuff out there. The smart people and the people who are educated, Troy, they watch a whole bunch of stuff, but they don't watch necessarily. My mother-in-law does watch Empire, but she also watches, my father-in-law, he'll watch every Hitler show that's on. He'll watch every documentary on Stalin, Hitler, the Roman. You know what I mean? And so I think that's the other part that we got to look at from the cable to now the streaming content that's out there. Yeah, maybe the networks are left for those people who want that bull. But then the other stuff's there too. So I think that's also we got to remember that too. Yeah. We can't gauge it on what the masses are watching, because that's not a real indication probably either.
It's not.
That's very true. There are so many choices now.
Like you said,
well, I mean, we can't.
If you break down the age groups of who's watching Empire, right? Huge, massive success.
Right.
African American men, 45 to 65. What are they watching? And then also, like you said, who exactly is watching all the reality shows and stuff? Those are people who are using television. I know most of my friends don't even watch television, so it's kind of.
Well, that's the thing is, like, younger people, especially, like my daughter will be 20 this year, and like they don't watch television at all. They watch everything that is streamed because it's what they can watch it when they want to. Everything's on demand now. So, and I was going to say,
but my only caveat to what you all are saying is we do know what people are watching. And we do know, even with 1 million TV channels, we know where, Oprah can make amazing programming and garner 1 million households on that particular show, whereas Empire is going to blow the doors off of it, like with a lot of other shows. On demand, they know exactly who's watching what, because you can see if I watch an on demand Empire on demand, which I did, they know I watched it. They know. I mean, the demographics, the numbers are still there, whether you're watching live television or whether you're watching on demand. And they're trying to put the analytics in place, obviously, for when people are streaming stuff on the web. They're going to be able to monitor what's getting what. And when you have the a la carte television that we seem to be moving toward, where, I only want 20 channels, and these are the 20 I want. I don't want any of this other nonsense. You're really going to – that's obviously cable doesn't want that to happen, because they're going to lose a lot of revenue.
Right.
Because some of these channels that you never watch are going to go away.
Sure.
I tell you what, guys, I think at the same time, I look at my kids, I look at my wife, I look at family. We watch a lot of ratchet stuff, We watch, but at the same time, my kids read a lot of good stuff. I think it's not. I'm not really that worried about. The problem is people who control their kids and control their lives and digest these different things. That's not the problem. It's the people who don't. You know what I'm saying? So
we always say,
can we make those people become? Can we make those people want to read a book? I don't know. I don't think so.
No,
I can't make you want to expand your mind. I just can't. So I don't know if even our conversations about fretting about the people watching this stuff even matters, because those people don't want to. They're not listening to us. They're watching Empire. No, which by the way, I haven't really watched it, but my family loves Empire, so they.
So your kids watch it too?
They watch it with my wife sometimes. Wow. I mean, not all of it, but they dip in and dip out. So some would say that's irresponsible parenting, but hey, it probably is. But I'm not. Again, it's weird. Again, I'm not worried about it because they have the balance. You know what I'm saying? Right. They have the balance of watching something crazy and then having a conversation and then asking about this and go hanging out with their grandparents who talk about real stuff. So it's like, and that's what it's about. But if your only diet is reality TV and crazy TV shows, then I think that's what we're probably worried about.
That's a great point. I don't know if you guys knew this or not. Did you know that Charles Barkley and Michael Jordan are not friends anymore?
I did not.
I heard about that.
Yeah, Charles Barkley did an interview recently, and he says that they're not friends because Charles basically said that, he said publicly on these NBA, these basketball shows, that Michael Jordan sucks as a general manager, basically, and Michael didn't like that, which I can understand why Michael wouldn't like it. But then Charles Barkley says, hey, they asked my opinion. We want me to lie just because you're my friend? You suck. You suck as a general manager. Now, he did say they've gotten a lot better with some recent signings and stuff like that, but the last few years, and I think it was kind of generally known that Michael Jordan as a general manager was horrible. He's a legendary player, but as a general manager, he really wasn't that good. And Charles pointed it out, and he says that it ended the friendship.
Well, I think I will say this.
It strained the friendship.
Well, like us, I think here's the thing. It's one thing, and like you said, Charles, you are hired to whatever, right? But it's like us, right? We buy a radio station, right? And they ask you guys, hey, man, what do you think of Mark as a general manager? He's a terrible general manager, right? Here's the thing. Charles Barkley, what the hell do you own? You know what I mean? What have you done but just...
I own Tuesday nights on TNT.
Right. You know what I'm saying? And so I think that's the part. Like, what happens, I think, is in addition to Michael Jordan, obviously ego and his will to win and all that kind of stuff, I'm in a lane you're not in. You could have been in it, but you're not even in it. So when you tear me down, you're tearing down people who are trying to do this. You know what I mean? And so I think that's the second part to... We talk about like if it's civic or if it's national pride or whatever. When you say that I'm a terrible, I suck, whatever, it's funny, it's ha ha ha. But the reality is, how many black owners are there in basketball? How many black owners are there in baseball? You know what I'm saying? And you're my friend, so I need you to just, if you could just say, well, hey man, he's getting better or whatever. But you saying that I suck and getting laughs, I can see how you can say, man, fuck you, okay? And I think that's the other part. Like, we're out here playing. Everybody's like, and even Michael Jordan, love him or hate him. Him and Magic, they're in rare air. I was just thinking, how many black-owned baseball teams are there? There are none. Magic's a part of a group that owns, I guess, the Dodgers now, right?
Mm-hmm. But he's the primary.
It's 2015. You know what I'm saying? It's 2015, and baseball just got a black owner.
Now, but is Magic the primary owner, or is he just the the spokesperson, the high-profile spokesperson?
No,
but I know he's part of a team. But is he over 50% ownership of the Dodgers?
Yes.
I did not know that. I thought he was a minority owner.
Didn't he write a $425 million check?
I don't know. I don't know.
I think his group. I think Magic.
The Guggenheim Group is what it's called.
He's in a group, but he put in a big check, man. He put in a big check.
Okay, I'm not disputing it. I'm just saying. But you know what?
From what I remember.
But the Charles Barkley thing, though, Mark, it's interesting because, let me ask you this: if someone asked Charles Barkley on an NBA show to grade Michael Jordan as a general manager, what was he supposed to say?
I think Charles Barkley, again, I think there's a way you can say things. Michael could have still been pissed.
But you have to understand, though, Mark, that Charles is not a professional broadcaster, so really all he knows is to speak from the dome without giving it much thought. He's well known for that.
Well, you can be well known for it, but you're an asshole. So if you're my friend and you throw me under the bus, then I don't have a problem if Jordan is mad at it. I don't have a problem with that because again, this is my money I'm putting up. You know,
but you know
you're taking money out of my pocket. So hey, fuck you, okay? And understand I say that with love. You're my friend.
But Charles actually having the conversation. Charles is the one who revealed that they were on the outs.
Yeah, he did. He's the one. Michael said nothing.
And Charles said, you know what? He's my friend, and you know he's always going to be my friend. But I'm doing my job. He said, and I would tell. It was kind of like, you know, Charles makes me angry sometimes because he does say things that it's like, come on, man, what are you saying right now? I don't need you to comment on Ferguson, really. I don't need you to concentrate. I need you to concentrate on the Warriors' defense more than on Ferguson, please.
Yeah.
Right.
But so in the context of talking about Michael Jordan, he said, hey, you know, I said, this is what I am. I'm an analyst. I said what I said. He's still my friend. He wasn't backing down from it, which I do like about Charles. He's like, hey, you don't like it, motherfucker? Then, hey.
You know what?
You don't like it. If you don't like it, then get the Hornets better. And I'll be praising you. Yeah. So, I mean, at least he kept it real in that regard. I don't think he meant it in a way that was going to belittle Michael Jordan.
But it's hard not to take it that way if you're Michael Jordan, though.
Yeah. Well, that's what everybody. See, I think everybody does that, and I think again, I don't think people understand. You know, though you're Michael Jordan, right? When you say I'm horrible, this and that, you're saying it's back to the system. That's what the system said. That's what Abe Pollin disrespected Michael Jordan on a super high level. You know what I mean?
Well, but tell people who Abe Pollin is, because I mean,
the owner of the Washington Wizards.
Okay.
The way that they broke off their deal, he treated Michael Jordan like he was a regular guy.
He treated him like a player.
Yeah, peace out. The deal's over. Bye. See ya. You know.
Long story short, Michael wanted to buy into the Wizards ownership group. Abe Pollin was like, okay, let's talk about it. How about playing for the Wizards? And then we'll have then after you play for us, then, you know,
we'll talk.
And
he played for the Wizards, and Abe Pollin was like, I don't know what you're talking about.
See ya.
Damn.
So I think those are different things, and I think also Charles Barkley at the same time, Charles is used by the powers that be as a coon, you know, and Charles comments on Ferguson, but doesn't comment on being stopped by cops with his white girlfriend or whatever, his jump off, and getting a pass. And this has happened like 3 or 4 times. He threw somebody through a glass window. Mm-hmm. You know, he's done all this stuff, but he's been allowed to get a pass for whatever reason. And so, but at the same time, he can be hypercritical when it comes to other African Americans and other situations about people need to blank, 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 blank. How can you even open your mouth when you have not been a citizen, the greatest citizen, and you've benefited from your celebrity many times over? But you can be harshly critical of people your same color, and then say, oh, you know, he will, you know, he'll just kind of say it. But he enjoys a carte blanche that other black men don't have. You think if my ass threw somebody through a glass window, you know, you'd be walking around free. So that's the thing about a Charles Barkley, and you still have time to tear down your friend, your quote unquote friend. I don't know. You know, I think that's the part that is probably that could be. I could see how you could be like, all right, man. You know, it's kind of like on one hand he benefits from his position. Charles does, and he's used by others, and he doesn't even know it. I think that's the part that can happen if you start just analyzing stuff, you know. Right. Like when people, to me, that's like when people tear down Oprah, when they tear down Magic. It's okay, I think, to tear down Oprah when you're talking to your friends or talking to someone. But if you're talking to the general media, that's already tearing people down. You know, yeah, he's a terrible general manager, isn't he? Yes, he is. He's a terrible general manager. He's my friend. He sucks. Ha 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 ha. What you're projecting is you're dinging Jordan's brand. You know, so that's my thing. That's my thing.
Well, the last story I have, in Georgia, Madison Turner got a ticket for DWEC. That's driving while eating a cheeseburger. Apparently, it's illegal to text and drive, and now it's also illegal. They have a distracted driver law. So anything that distracts the driver, they're going to pull you over and give you a ticket. This ticket, you could actually get points on your license. Your insurance rates can go up. You could get fined up to $1,000, and you could get jail time, although I would imagine that you would only get that if you're being difficult or if you kept doing it over and over again and it just graduated to something more serious. But pulling somebody over for eating a cheeseburger, is it dangerous? Yeah, it could be. I never really thought about it, but then I thought about, okay, so maybe you're trying to be careful because you're on
dangerous.
You're on your way to a. I mean, yeah.
Man, that'd be a hell of a cheeseburger. To eat. Man.
But people eat and drive all the time. I've seen people drive with their knees while they were eating with both hands.
Tony, that would have to be an amazing cheeseburger. I mean, you had to be turning around. Hey, y'all. This is amazing.
No, but you know what?
You had to be getting out of the car and hollering at the top of the world and saying that this is the best cheeseburger ever. On another note, my ass would be in jail. I'm a cheeseburger eating drive, and
you would be in jail animal style.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
Yeah, it's dangerous. Of course it is. Because, I mean, if you're going to a job interview and you're trying to get that hamburger in so your stomach won't growl or something, and you're trying not to spill ketchup on your neck, on your tie, and it's like, so you're kind of like this, and then you run up on a curb and something like that. Well, yeah. I mean, I get it. That's why they don't want you texting when you're driving. That's why, they don't want you holding the phone up to your ear in some states while you're driving. I get all that. So anything you're doing that involves you using your hands while you're driving is going to be dangerous. But it just seems kind of silly. It seems kind of silly to write a ticket for that, but it's a law. It's silly, though.
He should have bought two and given the cop one. Everything. Hey, man, I got a burger for you. You need to experience what I'm doing. I think this is a rough one. I think it's funny how, and I've just made a couple of trips to the DMV, so that's why it's top of mind. Okay, I bought a car, and I pay the note. But I need to buy some license plates, and I need to buy insurance, and we all know that generates fees and revenue for a municipality. The same way that these speed cameras do the same thing, and it's a revenue generator in a lot of ways. So, how much control do you have of something that you own? I own the car. I own this damn car.
Right.
I can't eat a hamburger in this motherfucker. So I mean, obviously there are safety concerns, but it's interesting. How laws kind of move us to the next phase of this century. Let's face it, in the next 5, 10, 15 years, people are going to be in automobiles that run by themselves, and you can do whatever you want to in your car.
Yeah. So
I don't know if that's a precursor for this, but in the United States, we're actually getting off kind of easy compared to in Europe. They have a speed camera. They have cameras that make sure your license plates are valid, that your registration is valid. They also check for a seatbelt and a couple of other things. In the same camera.
Wow.
And the gas is like $20.
You can get pulled over for any number of the camera looks into the car to see if you got the seatbelt on.
Right. Yeah.
So and you can get pulled over if your plates are invalid by the camera. So I mean there's a whole lot of room for how we're monitored. And I don't want to dip into Mark's conspiracy theory area.
Yeah.
But
man, we're at headed toward a minute. An hour and 20 minutes, man. So you guys,
nobody's gonna watch this one, but it was fun. You have to be born in 1963 to watch this.
So
anyway, they're talking about Cosby again.
They're talking about Cosby and hamburgers.
Anyway, if you can give this a thumbs up, that'd be great. Of course, comments are always welcome. Subscribing to the channel is also off the hook. So let's wrap it up, man. In Washington, D.C., that's Troy Johnson. In New York City, that's Mark Clark. I'm Tony Scott in St. Louis, and thank you so much for watching Men on Everything.
Subscribe to this channel. We're trying to get Tony to broadcast from New York in the YouTube studios. Please subscribe. Subscribe. We need 10,000 followers.
Very good.
Okay.
All right. We'll see you later.